Thanks for stopping by. I have lots to share with you today. A lot of busy work going on in the Beehive right now, and I can't tell you how amazing that feels. So I'm just going to share with you some of my process that has been going from here out to here in the Beehive. But first of all, I got this all pieced together. And I was surprised that I didn't switch one block, which was great, and I got up a lot, up and down, up and down, up and down, over to the ironing board, and pieced it all together just like I wanted. I had that decision point where I was thinking maybe it needs a border, but then I found the perfect piece of backing for it, and the backing fits the size it is now. And so I opted, since this is going to be a utilitarian baby quilt, to not put the border on, but to opt for the backing that I wanted. So I'll share all of that with you as we go around the Beehive and talk about what's been going on here the last couple days. It has been awesome. Stay tuned. I've gone around and around and around in preparation for my quilt retreat. It's kind of interesting. I think it's because I haven't had a quilt retreat in, gosh, probably 2019 maybe is the last time, when you think about it. Trying to think about. And, you know, my quilt group that I retreat with, we used to retreat probably, well, we used to meet every month back in the day when we were always working, and even fitting our schedules in, it was pretty darn amazing. But then it went to probably 3 times, maybe 4 times a year for a weekend or a long weekend retreat away, and we would rent a space and we tried different places. But as COVID happened, and then a series of retirements and a series of grandchildren arriving and movement and all of that, this is like the first retreat in quite a long time, and let me tell you, it's mind-boggling, because I want to do it all. I want to do it all, but what I've decided today, let's see if that happens actually at retreat. And it will be a full retreat for me in terms of that I might be posting a few pictures on Instagram or Facebook, but I won't be doing a video at the retreat. I'm taking it as a total rest. And it's still, 2 or 3 weeks away. So the fact that I'm spinning my wheels right now is, oh, that's so me. Well, so I changed my mind several times, and I decided this morning that I was not going to bring a sewing machine. I have never gone to retreat without a sewing machine. But because it will be shorter, I'm a day shorter than some people, because I'm driving further away. There's some people flying in from their locations, but I'm going to be getting there like an evening later. And I thought it might be an opportunity to, I know that 80% is handwork for me, but it might be an opportunity to actually get some things over that hump that I seem to put a wall up for. I don't know about you guys, but I'll like go gung-ho on a project, and then at some point it just kind of stops and I've moved on to the next thing. So if I force myself by deprivation And I know all of you are groaning. Not deprivation. We don't like deprivation. No, but kind of set up parameters. It might be a good thing for me. I started following on Instagram a TikTok thread that was called What It's Like to Be a Normal Person as opposed to an ADHD person. And although I embrace it, I mean, it's in my genetic code. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I do know that there are things I can do that will get me a little closer to success, or I should say finish. And that's what I think I'm going to do with this retreat. I think I'm going to take projects that are almost there and take them over the finish line. Yeah, take them over the finish line. It feels kind of good, so I know it must be the right thing for me because it feels kind of good. And I know that when I tell my pocket robin that I'm not bringing a sewing machine, she's going to think I'm crazy. Maybe she won't, but what I am going to do is bring a lot of projects, though, because one time at retreat I didn't, and that was ugly. That was absolutely an ugly situation, because there's nothing worse than a bored, distracted Anna. There's nothing worse, and then I'm bugging everybody else. Yeah, so I just have to do it, you know. So I had to piece the backing of that sweet baby quilt. I really wanted to use this flannel. I found this piece of flannel in my stash, and it is so soft. It is so old. I bought it a long time ago, but it is so soft, and it has all the nursery rhymes on the back. You know, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, all the king's horses, and all the king's men. And so I wanted to use it on the backs, which meant that I just had a piece big enough to layer it and quilt it without a border, which is great for me because I want it to be a very functional, usable, wash it 10,000 times floor baby quilt. And I wanted to have flannel on the back. So I pieced that together so the size is just right. And I now have used all of this wonderful flannel. And it's kind of interesting when you use a piece of fabric up. It's like, okay, I'm never going to have that piece again. You know, it's like there's a real satisfaction to it, and at the same time, kind of like a worrisome loss. I can't get that fabric again. Well, what that means is that this week I need to get it quilted, and I'm just going to be cross-hatch quilting it. I am using fusible batting, the Hobbs 8020, and I don't want my iron to shut off. I use a cordless iron. It's a Panasonic cordless steam iron. Oh, do you see? You see what I'm talking about? Distractibility. Okay, where was I? Oh, so I got fusible batting, Hobbs 8020, and I'm going to layer this and finish quilting it, and then put the binding on it and take it with me to retreat to tack the binding. Because I can then have mindless work, get something done, and be able to really engage with these friends that I haven't spent a lot of time with in months. And there's nothing better than, and I know that we met one time like a month or two ago, a couple of times this year, but there's nothing better than waking up in your jammies and sitting around talking and stitching all day. There's nothing better than that. So I don't want to be distracted. Like, I know I originally said I was going to do that, a Zoom block French General, and several of you said, I'm not too sure about that. You know, the cutting alone is kind of challenging. And then I took some time to really think about, how do I want my well filled this retreat? And it's more about being present with my friends. And I already have a distractibility issue, so having to stay on task might not be the best way to spend my retreat. Yes. So I have this backing. And what am I doing here? Well, I've been trying to figure out what I'm taking. And one of the things I'm taking is a little wool, a little embroidery project. And this is my French General. It's pre-printed. Simple embroidery. Probably I'll make a pillow out of it. And I put SF 101 on the back, fused. And I'm using one color of thread, which is just a DMC 355. And it's another mindless project. So I'm taking that for variety with these adorable scissors that a quote roadie friend sent to me. Quote stitch roadie friend, and it's this little tiny adorable candy cut, and see, it's and then when you slide this down, the blade goes inside. See? So that's in there. But I thought, since I'm taking my Yazzie bags, I had not decorated this particular Yazzie bag. And this is the one that has my embroidery in it. So I finished stitching this project here. This is a buttermilk basin, and I'm going to fuse it onto the front of this Yazzie bag, and then I'll stitch it down. Isn't that cute? Perfect fit. Perfect fit. But you always have to figure out how to deal with the Yazzie bag in attaching something to it. I peeled the back off of my wool project, which has the soft fuse on it. And then luckily for me, there is no plastic pocket right on the back side of this, but I still wanted some surface. So my wool mat, I'm putting that in there. And then I'm just arranging this. And then I'm going to steam it on there before I stitch it on there. And the fusible part of this, because I didn't know originally what I was going to do with that piece, is just going to keep it in place while I stitch it down. And the wool mat kind of pulls the steam all the way through. So now I'm just going to so now it is stuck on there. So now I can just whip stitch that down. Isn't that cute? Yazzie. I love these Yazzie bags for traveling, and I knew that on Quote Retreat I was going to be taking a couple of these with me, but they have to be decorated. They just can't be plain Yazzie bags. Well, maybe for some of you there, but I needed it decorated. So I just have to whip stitch that down. What else? Okay. Oh, well, I have, naturally I'm taking the hexies because, yeah, taking the hexies. This is my hexie bag, and it has everything I need to make hexies, and I have so many of them pre-cut in some of the backgrounds, so I'm going to be able to work on that. I'm going to take my Yazzie iron bag and the project. I probably will stick it in this one, the strip project with the like Sue Spargo stitching on the strip that goes around the iron bag. So those 3 bags will be going with me. And this one is just perfect because it has all these pockets. You know, I have my little hexie cards. I have the Mylar ones that someone gifted me. I have some cute little hexies that are cut out. I have my pen, my foam pen, and then I have needles and ironing board and a cutting mat and the, you know, but I really don't need to cut any out because look at this. I have tons of hexies already cut out, ready to stitch. But this is an awesome organizational bag, so that is going to go also. Let's see, the latest thing that I have, my, what would you call it? Some people call it my favorite thing this week. Well, it's not just this week, it's going to be my favorite thing forever, is this stuff. Now, my friend Robin told me that she absolutely loves this. This makes her drink twice as much water. It comes in several different flavors. I didn't believe her until she served me some water with it in there, and it was like awesome. And she only uses, it comes in, you know, it comes in a packet like this, but she only uses half a packet per glass of water. And you get it at Walmart, and so, oh my gosh. There's several different flavors, but you know, I'm a freak for watermelon. I'm a freak for watermelon. Okay, what next? Well, let's see. I'm going to move the camera over, and we will look at the cutting table. Sorry for the jiggle joggle. And we'll continue our conversation. This is the binding that's going to go on the baby quilt. So I have to cut binding. And then this week I finished quilting on the Sweet 16, my table runner, and all I did was a crosshatch all the way across, and then in the border I did a squiggly line, 2 squiggly lines all the way around in a continuous free motion kind of way. I am a freak for striped bias binding, and I had the perfect piece that I believe I got from So Yeah, and I actually got a big piece of it because I want to bind a Christmas tree skirt in this particular stripe. But I thought, wow, this is absolutely perfect for this, isn't it? So today I am cutting bias binding. I am attaching the binding to this table runner, and then I'm taking this on retreat to tack the binding down. Yes, I'm going to do several binding tacking downs. That's why I need to get the baby quilt done, because I'll take that with me to tack the binding down. Oh, I need to cut that. See how easily I got off track? Yeah, so binding, binding, binding. This is so fun. I was kind of sad that cotton candy grapes were gone for the season. Okay, don't watch me do this. I'm just doing this a little backwards. I tell people, don't do that, but I'm very careful. Were her last words before she sliced her arm. Okay, so now I'm going to just do my 45-degree angle. So these are regular green grapes that I'm snacking on. I normally, when I cut binding, I end up with extra pieces, and I wrap them up and I put them in my thread box up here. And so when I want to like do a scrappy quilt, and I just want the binding to be all kinds of fabric, I have all these chunks of binding already made that can be, and I cut my binding at 2.5 inches, just in case you were wondering. I think this blade has about had it. Maybe I'll take a simple quilt to retreat to cut and have it all cut and ready to so when I get home then it would be all cut. I don't know. 2.5 inches. You know, I got this this cutting mat that's navy blue. It's a regular cutting mat. I mean, it's made by the cutting mat company, but I don't like to use the side that is got all the lines on it. It kind of is too distracting for me, so I like to use the back. But this one is not as self-healing as my green mats were. See, I think I'm going to have more than enough binding, and so then I'll have some left over for the Christmas tree skirt. The other thing I'm going to be working on this week is salvage. I collect salvages. Only cute salvages. I don't like them all. But there's some cute salvages, let me tell you. Oh, this one needs to be cut. Huh? There's some really, I mean, back in the day, it used to just be the colored dots that tell you about what color runs were in a specific run of fabric. But then the fabric companies started getting very creative with the salvages, and there's some really cute motifs on the salvages, and so I started collecting them. And you need to have, to really make a salvage functional, you need to have at least 1.5 inch wide salvage. And not everybody wants to, everybody's kind of trying to you know, use as much of the fabric as possible, and so they don't want to cut the salvage, they want to cut it right at the edge. But you need at least 1.5 inches of salvage. So this is my salvage box. And I mean, look at this salvage. This Charlie Harper salvage. Isn't that cute? Now that begs to be used on something. I also liked this one. Of course, this one's much, much bigger. So I'm going to make some stuff out of these salvages this week. It's going to be, I'm going to have a salvage day. Sounds like I have a truck or something, huh? What else can I share with you? Oh, one of the projects that I decided to take was a old project. You know, I kind of went through a little bit of the project boxes in there, and I found a Kathy Schmidt's project that I absolutely fell in love with. I fell in love with it. And it's called Harvest Table, and this is from a while ago. And I'll put her link in the description box, but oh, it looks like I even, what I did, this is just to show you all the different techniques that I have used in my stitching life. I kind of like to try everything that comes down the pike. And this particular one, obviously, was during my transferees phase, of which I still have several pieces of transferees. And transferees is a fusible, dissolvable pattern. So what you do is you put the sheets, they come in like 8 by 10 sheets, you put them in to your printer. Then you take your pattern and you copy it onto the transferees. And so it comes out like this. This is a chunk of transferees. So it comes out like this. See, it's already printed on there. Then you peel this off, this paper back, on the sheet of the transferees. And you stick this webbing stuff onto your fabric so that the motif is onto your fabric, and then you stitch right through it. And after you're all done stitching, you soak it in water, like you fill up the sink and you soak it and you rub it. And I believe way back in the Quilt Roadie videos is a video where I did it step by step. It feels like you're washing slugs, because when you're rubbing it off of your fabric, it's real slimy. It's disgusting. But it works. That's the thing. For people who don't want to spend time with a light box and tracing, this is an option. But it is a totally different feel to it. So here's two that I got done. And see, it turns out perfect. It's just that you got that slimy step that you have to then let this dry. You have to then let this dry. And see, I had I've been a long-term fan of SF 101 because I like to carry my threads, you know, and then they don't show on the front. But isn't that cute? And here's the other one. So if you're interested in transferees, do I have any right here? Let me just take a peek here. You guys stay right there. I bet you I have some here. No? Oh yeah. So here we go. See, it comes in a package like this in 8 by 10 sheets. So you just put it in your printer, and then you put your pattern on top and you print it onto the transferees, and then you cut out the I try to make this pieces as small as possible, and then you embroider right through it, and then when you're done embroidering, you wash the transferees and you get that giving a slug a bath feel. But these two pieces that I have done, I just love this little Beehive one. Might have to do that again. Go on this table runner. So I'm going to try to get this table runner pieced together so that I can quilt it, bind it, and take it to retreat to tack the binding down. And I have all of the fabrics. I bought all of the fabrics. I even have somewhere here, oh, it must be in this pocket bed, I have the rickrack. So it's not far from being done. And then I have these other two pieces that are ready to be embroidered on something entirely different. So I have that in my mind to get it done. Yeah. You see? Oh, there's the rickrack. There's the rickrack. And I, let's see, does it say where I purchased this pattern? Well, I'll put the link for Kathy Schmitz down below, because she's absolutely lovely. And her sister is Bonnie Sullivan. And we all know Bonnie Sullivan, too, because she does cross stitch. Well, I guess that's enough jibber jabber, huh? Yeah. I've got my work cut out for me, don't I? I have my work cut out for me. Well, thanks for hanging out, and wish me luck. I have a couple of weeks to get, at least 2.5 weeks to get my proverbial you-know-what together, and part of the challenge is to get my brain to circle around on one thing and not just be jumping around, but I do get things done. I don't want you to think that I never get anything done. It looks like I don't, but eventually things do get done. Yeah. I'm highly motivated. Oh, one more thing to show you. I know I posted this on my blog, but I have to show you this. Isn't he adorable? So my friend Robin is an amazing, not only stitcher, quilter, gardener, she is a potter. And I was poking around. I had to go get my car serviced, and so I was at her house, and I was poking around one of her drawers, and there were all these little pottery animals. And I said, I want one. I want one. And she says, well, I was thinking about making them into a pincushion. I said, I want one. So she says, well, pick one out. And so I picked this little guy, this little bear out. Look at his little toes. He's absolutely the sweetest. And when I came home, I made a little pincushion to stuff in his belly. And all I did was that I took this little bowl, my little Paris bowl, I drew it on the fabric that I picked, put some SF101 on the inside of it. I stitched around the circle and drew it up like a purse, and then I filled it with walnut shells, crushed walnut shells. And then at the very top, I put a little bit of polyfill stuffing, so to keep the walnut shells in there. And then I stitched it tight, and then I dumped a bunch of tacky glue all around the inside of this guy and stuffed that little bag upside down in there. And is he not just the most adorable thing? I mean, look at his little ears and, you know, his little feet. He makes me smile. And I think that's what I take away from this, is that we have to embrace that which makes us smile. there is still a lot to smile about. Yeah. Well, thank you for stopping by. I love you guys. And I hope you stay healthy and that you get some stitching in or reading or, take a moment. Take a moment and smile.